Hello everyone. Today we are going to begin with a very quick introduction into how to do animation. First thing I want to make sure happens is that you click on these three lines and make sure that you have successfully signed in. So your name should appear in the bottom. Once that's done, I'm going to clean up my screen a little bit. I'll get rid of the X and Y axis. I'll get rid of the grid. So I'll click on this circle with triangle icon, get rid of the axis, get rid of that, make it into a blank screen. Now for the purposes of the work I'm going to do today, I'll leave this open and I'm going to start by creating a line segment that just goes across A to B. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm now going to add a point, and what I want this point to do is I want this point to be stuck on top of A and B, so between these two points. So what I'll do is I will click on top of the segment anywhere, it doesn't matter, and I will click one time. Then I'll go to my arrow key, and what I want to do here is I want to test it. I want to test to see that I've put point C in the right spot. Now I know I've done this correctly if point C moves back and forth, and I can't seem to pull this off, so if when I go up or I go down, it's still stuck on top of that segment. Okay. So now I'll click away from it, and what I want to do now is I want to take a look at my left hand side of the screen, and I will notice that I have A and B, which are my 2 points here and here. F is the segment itself between A and B, so I see this little lowercase f that represents the segment itself, and then point C is the point I added afterwards, but notice how this is slightly lighter in color than A and B. Also, as you take a look at it, notice that this now has a little symbol that appears to be like a play button. So what I'll do there is I'm going to go ahead and press play just to see what the effect is on my point C. It appears that this moves the point. So let's see what happens. As it moves towards B, it restarts at A and just continues to go right back to B. Okay, so it finishes at B, restarts at A. So I'll go ahead and press pause. And what I'll do is I'm going to click on C, and I will use my settings key to see if I can add other features to it. So what I'll do is I'll click here, and I will purposely go to a section called algebra. So I have all of these tabs that open up, and the one that I want to look at is my algebra tab. There within the algebra tab, I have something that measures the speed, and I have this thing that says repeat with the word increase. Alright, so I'll click on this little arrow. It gives me a couple of other choices. The first one says oscillating. Oscillating is fancy language for moving back and forth. Increasing means it goes from the smallest point to the biggest point. Decreasing is the opposite. It's like moving from right to left. And increasing once means that it's going to do the movement exactly one time, from least to greatest. In this case, from left to right. What I want my point to do is I want it to oscillate. That means that I want this point to appear like it's going back and forth. So I'm going to click on oscillating. And as far as every other thing here, I'll leave it alone. I'll press X. Remember that this was the algebra tab. I'll press X here. And now I'll press play. See what the effect is now. Now it appears like it's bouncing off of B and moving back towards A. And that's the effect I'm looking for. So when it hits A, it should bounce back, appear to bounce back, moving towards B. Alright, next thing I'll do is I notice that I have these numbers here with arrows. So I'm going to click on this one. And I'm going to notice that this speeds up my point. If I go the opposite direction, I notice that this slows down my point. And for our purposes, we'll tend to keep it at 1 in terms of speed. I'll stop it now. Now, one word of advice. If you speed this up and you go to some ridiculous number, there is a possibility that you'll go so fast that it goes above the processing speed of the computer. If that were to happen, your computer will freeze or it will crash and you won't have the file anymore. So be careful with that you don't get carried away going as fast as possible, and then your computer, next thing you know, just freezes and it won't allow you to do anything. Okay? Now once you have done this, what you're going to do is you're going to go back to the 3 lines, and what you'll do there is you're going to go ahead and save it. This one is going to be called Animation Introduction. Make sure that it says that it's shared, and then just press save. Now that's it. Now a couple of things to think about, because this will entail our work for this week, and what that is that imagine that there was an object that was attached to this point. If that were so, for example, a square. If I could attach a square to this point, I could then make it appear as if the square is moving back and forth. It's the beginning of a very simple animation, and all I got to figure out is how am I going to attach specific items to it so that I can give the illusion of an object that is moving, in this situation, back and forth. Okay, that's it for today. Make sure you set it up on your computer, and we'll talk about it in class later. Bye.